And welcome back once again, Endurance Hour Podcast, episode 391. It's been a couple of weeks, and a lot has transpired since. If you didn't catch us on our last episode, Wendy had a new haircut, a birthday haircut. It looks fantastic, and you say it's growing in fast. So let's talk about some hair news immediately, and then we'll transition into some questions and a first for Wendy, at least a first in a long time. A scheduled procedure. Go ahead, talk about your beautiful and flowing hair. Not so flowing, but it's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I mean, I got my haircut. I usually get my haircut once a year on my birth week. The week of my birthday, I usually get it cut. And sometimes if I have like an important race in October, I'll also get it cut in the fall. But for the most part, I let it grow. And, back in October, I really wanted to get it cut before I went to the Ironman World Championships. And I'm like, nah, you just got to hold off to your birthday. And it was so long. My hair grows really fast. And it was so long that I'm like, I just don't want my hair touching myself. And I knew I was going to go short. I just didn't know what would happen. So my hairdresser, I've been going to her for 4 years. She's great. And I said, I want it short. I don't want it touching me. Ear length, chin length, that's a good start. And if I decide I even want to go shorter than that, I need that little stepping stone. I need a little progression and before going even any shorter. And I absolutely love it because it's just so easy. I take a shower. When I have a brush, I'll comb it out and just let it go. Like I don't even have to touch it. And I think it looks really good. So
it's a good style.
It's a really good thing that I did for myself.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about my crazy hair color back and forth last week too.
Yes.
Or a couple weeks ago. Well, my wife came to me to a real salon, she calls, a couple days ago for a consultation. And so we talked to a couple of people there, and I'm going to have my hair officially, professionally, silvered / grayed out in 2 months.
Why two more months? Like, why wait?
I think it's just how long. Well, because I did box color after the treatment. I box colored my hair. And so that has to grow out. Otherwise, when they strip it and bleach it, they're going to strip it up all color and then go real silver fox George Clooney.
Nice. I like it.
So that's in 2 months. So it'd be May 26th. So the week after that, I'll probably send you a picture, but week after that, that's where I'm going.
That's
crazy.
Sweet.
It's so weird. It was funny when she goes there. She's saying, now he did this, he does this, and we want to fix it. It's like, I'm glad she was with me and to a real salon. This is really, it smelled great in there. Very nice place. So that's my hair story. Okay, let's talk about a first. I had in 2 years ago, I think it was in May, I had a little cleanup done in my right knee. I actually forgot. I think it was my right knee because I was having some issues, tendonitis. So apparently there was some cartilage that had to be cleaned up because I was in pain and I couldn't race. I had to cancel a couple of Ironmans, which ended up allowing me the opportunity to do Arizona, and it was fine. No knee pain since. So I had a little procedure. You're scheduled to have a procedure of some kind. What happened, and have you ever had any procedures done throughout your athletic career?
Well, first I am getting surgery on Friday, March 31st. Great way to end my birth month. And I have a complete broken patella. They call it a fracture, but my patella broke in half. And the only way to start the healing process is with surgery. This is the first time I'm actually making it public. And so what happened was on March 22nd, I was hiking with the kids that I coach. That's where we do dry land. And I slipped and fell on my knee and it cracked. And so it was an interesting feeling because it popped and it didn't hurt. And it
I was wondering, do these things make noise and initially the sound, but because of the type of injury, does it hurt, or is it the inflammation afterwards that makes it hurt?
Yeah, so it didn't hurt and I was very calm. I'm with 10 other swimmers and I was so fortunate not to be alone because if this would have happened, let's say I've been going to this place called Fort Mountain a lot. If I was there by myself, I would have been stranded because I wouldn't have been able to get myself out of there. And it's not like that place you see people. So I was lucky to be with my kids. At that time, we were on a slight incline. We were right behind the club and I, just scooted my way down and I knew I knew something happened because it popped, and I knew I didn't want anyone touching me, but I also knew I needed help getting out. So one of my swimmers called his mother and father. His mother was a nurse, and they came. They actually found us by tracking him on his phone, which was great. And in just her being a nurse, and she just kind of knew what to do. And so she had the boys, carry me in a certain way to help me to the road, which is only, less than a quarter mile at this point, a quarter of a quarter mile, 200. And at that point, once I got to the road, there's this little subdivision like right next to Lifetime that it was again another 200 to get to the front door. And a woman was driving a truck and she saw these kids carrying me and she stopped. So they put me in her truck and she just drove right around the corner. So we're at Lifetime, kind of deciding what to do, emergency, urgent care, what do we do? And I just decided if I'm at the emergency room all night, that's fine. I'm going to be up all night. So they took me to the emergency room. I was actually in and out in only 3 hours, which is unheard of at this day and age because there's so many people there. So many people, if they just have the sniffles, they seem to go to the emergency room. And I know that because my husband's an emergency room nurse. And so I was in and out in 3 hours and they took an x-ray and it's, you just knew that doesn't look right. It looks like a kind of a shattered patella. And I went home the next day. I was on the phone with surgeons. And because my injury happened at work, I had to go through workers' compensation, which I didn't know at the time. And so when I first called the surgeon, they're like, do you have workers' comp paperwork? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just so new at this. Just schedule me surgery. And so I didn't go through them initially, this place called Pinnacle initially. And I ended up going with the ER doctor's recommendation. And I had a surgeon consult the following Monday, which was the 27th. And that surgery consult scheduled me surgery on Wednesday. And then I found out Monday afternoon via email that I had to use for workers' comp, I had to use a surgeon from the panel. And so all day Monday, I mean, this is like a full-time job for me, is trying to figure out how this procedure can happen as soon as possible. Because again, my knee, I've been off for 8 days, but my knee has not started any healing process because the only fix for this particular instance is surgery. And so I'm trying to get a sense of urgency, trying to get that workers' comp. I had to get an interview about what happened. And it was kind of like a roller coaster of emotions. Just like the most important thing to me right now is surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when all is said and done, I got to meet 2 other surgeons, and I found this surgeon that I'm getting surgery with tomorrow who is like awesome. I feel like everything happens for a reason, especially this, because I think he was worth the wait. He met with me. He talked to me all about nutrition and things I needed to do to start the healing process. So a fun thing that I wanted to talk about is overnight, I became completely sedentary, lying on the couch 24/7. And I am eating animal protein.
Wow. All that. You are a changed woman.
I'm a changed woman. Things happen when you turn 50. I'm like, is this because I turned 50? So there's some comedy towards the end. And the reason I'm eating animal protein is I just trust this surgeon. And he gave me a whole protocol, 5,000 units of vitamin D, 1,000 units of of calcium plus boron, because I never knew this. Boron helps absorption of calcium. And I look back at my charts of all my annual physicals, and my vitamin D is always low. And usually my physician every year gives me a prescription for a month's worth of vitamin D to kind of boost it up. So anyways, this surgeon just told me, he flat out just said, you might not heal because you're vegan. And I said, that's fine. Like I have a strong why. I will eat animal protein because I want to ensure I do everything possible to heal and to be able to run again. And it's a hard transition. It's not like gonna happen like, all I'm going to do is eat meat the rest of my life, but I'm willing to do it until I heal. And then I'll decide where I want to go with my nutrition. And that's my story. A first of surgery and a first of eating animal protein in many, many years.
So you must have gone deep dive on the internet looking into, recovery, what's my chances, and this whole new protein protocol. Is this a replacement of a patellar or a kneecap? How are they going to piece this back together?
Well, again, this is another benefit of waiting for this surgeon that I didn't know how awesome he is. So I had talked to two other surgeons, and just through research, we knew that the protocol was clamp, reattach the patella pieces, and
Mm-hmm.
then they do some sort of like cross wiring.
Yeah.
And then when we met with the second surgeon told us about this new procedure that you could put a plate on it instead of doing the cross wiring. And
Oh.
then when we met the third surgeon, who I'm meeting tomorrow, I've never been so excited in my life for something that is usually devastating for people,
Yeah.
is that he does both. He's like, he has all these terms and these phrases, and I don't know the exact phrase, but he's like, basically, if you're going to go cross it, you might as well put the plate on it. You might as well double it and make sure it heals and make sure you're doing both protocols.
Mm-hmm.
And this is his expertise. So the reason I didn't go to the second surgeon is the second surgeon was more of a consultation. He just said, you know what, this is not my expertise. He probably does like shoulders. He goes, I'm going to send you to my partner, because my partner, this is what he does. He does the knee patella surgery. So it's not complete knee replacement. It's just a patella. It's a 1 to 2 hour procedure, from what I've read online. And we've also we're told by other people that we were hearing their stories, is one guy actually said things he wish he would have done was, number one, he said, I wish I would have ate more protein, because he lost half of his leg strength, and he lost like 20 pounds because he lost his muscle. Because, again, I've already been in bed pretty much immobile for 8 days, and I'm going to be for at least another 6 weeks, because you need to set that bone and you need to keep your legs straight for 6 more weeks. So the most difficult part for me right now is, I just thought of this analogy. Normally, like, I'm kind of in my car on neutral, and then if I need to speed up, I can go to 100 in any second, but I'm cruising on neutral to 25 miles an hour, and then I can go. Well, I went from 100 to 0. I'm not even in neutral. I'm like in 0. I'm parked. I'm stopped. I'm not moving at all. And my body is actually really kind of in shock. Like, my back, my everything is achy because I'm not moving. And that's, something that after surgery I'm going to change. At least I have my bands. I'll be able to do some upper body movements, free weight stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's so important, regardless of who you are. It's just so important to be active, for movement and mobility. And again, I'm older, and I just think my body's just like, what happened? You are used to moving basically 24/7. And another thing on top of that is, I'm like, you know what? I processed, you slow down, hurry slowly. There's this podcast I've been listening to called Hurry Slowly. And I'm like, I am someone who's never been able to stop mentally and physically. I'm just that personality.
Yeah.
And now I can't. So I've accepted that, it's okay to just stop and process and learn and recover and decide, where you're going to go from here.
Yeah, those are your new parameters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this, yeah, like you said, the sooner you accept it, the sooner you can move forward, because now you know what you can and cannot do. So it's easier to navigate the waters, because you can see what the waters are. More analogies. Yeah.
Right. And my surgeon actually said, when he first came in, the first thing he said is, I have good and bad news. He goes, the good news is you don't have cancer. And I thought he was going to say the bad news was, you're not going to fix this. But he just said the bad news is you need surgery. And I'm like, okay, I already knew those two things. I've already processed all the things that I've seen my friends and family go through, that this is, just a bump in the road, and I'm going to be fine. And I think it's because I've seen other friends and family members suffer from other ailments that, and some have recovered, some haven't yet, but in the end, I know I will. I may not be able to run trails like I was, but I know I'm still going to have a healthy, active lifestyle, under my terms.
Hmm. And prognosis of a brand new knee, have they talked? Is it too early to talk about that? Of once this is complete, you will be back to your former self in a matter of so many months?
Well, he had said, again, this is another reason why I like the surgeon. He had said, like everyone else, everything you read, 6 weeks. And then you start physical therapy, and the physical therapy is all about getting your knee to bend and getting back as much range of motion as you can. And I also read, and I know an athlete, our coach, her husband is going in for a surgery where they put, he had I think he had complete knee replacement. And 8 weeks later, he's only, I think, at 105 or 110 degree bend. And that's really low for this time. So they're going to put him under and do this knee manipulation that helps increase that range of motion. I've read about that. And now that I know my athlete's husband is getting that, that's up again. I'm thinking of that as a possibility if the range of motion doesn't come back as quickly as they want it to. And he said, like, you're going to be back to full on. He used the word full on in 12 weeks. Like, you're going to be back to normal training. Maybe not full on because he didn't know what I was doing, but it was really encouraging, because you read online 3 to 6 months. And he seems to think, you're going to be back to full range, normal activity, 12 weeks. But I also know I'm going to be very weak, in both legs. They're going to be weak. I'm just going to have to start really slow and rebuild that leg strength first on top of everything else. And the benefit to me right now is I just spent an intensive 12 weeks in the weight room 5 days a week. So strength training has been like really on the forefront for me because I did a Spartan race. And so like I've adapted to this, strength training as my primary mode of activity. So I'm really excited to get back to it because I've seen the benefits of the types of lifting I've been doing, the amount of exercises, whether it's body weight, free weights, functional strength training. I've just seen the difference in what I've been able to achieve in 12 weeks that I'm like, oh, I just cannot wait to get back there.
I see this almost as I like to always look at things in a positive, half full. If a fork in the road that's taking you on a journey that you otherwise wouldn't have explored because you never had to. You've been on this endurance road forever. And you've gone off the Ironman track a couple of times, do the ultras, come back to Ironman, check a lot of things off your list. The Spartan thing was a curiosity. Let me explore that. The weight training, and now this, whether it's the protein difference in nutrition, lifestyle, those kind of habits, and now this, who knows where it may lead you? It could be an exciting new adventure, and there's no. I always talk about the chapters in your life. They're just a chapter. It's not the end of the book or end of the story. Different chapter. Right. And as I told my wife, I'm really comfortable not doing Ironman training right now. So comfortable. And I have no inclination to do it. It's like I feel good not doing it because I have other interests, which if I was training, I wouldn't be able to have these other interests. And I like what I'm doing now. So who knows where this is going to go? And it could just be an exciting new adventure, which you never know how much stronger you'll get or the activities you'll take on. And then you can share those experiences.
Right. Exactly. So it's all good. It's all good. And I've just been spending a little bit more time on stuff business wise I've been putting off, like, organizing my website a little bit better, organizing my blogs, coming up with new ideas, talking to friends that I used to help me with my my blogging content and my website. I'm talking to them again from Colorado to say, okay, I have all this time now to focus on that. I need your help again. It's been so long since I've had that focus on that side of my business, and just again, reconnecting with friends that I haven't been connected with in a long time. And so yeah, I mean, again, I'm always been, I think, someone who has always tried to focus on the positive of every situation.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and make a transition to some questions from our followers, our athletes. And we'll start off with Sarah here, who writes, hey, Wendy, I'm a beginner following your Crush to Olympic training plan made easy, which I got on Training Peaks. I'm also spending more time in the pool since this is my weaker area. I've watched your videos on YouTube and started wearing fins as you recommended. Every time I wear fins, though, my toes and calves begin to cramp. Any ideas why and recommendations, Coach?
Well, again, there's multiple reasons you cramp. Mainly people cramp usually with dehydration or low electrolytes, and sometimes just being mindful of your daily hydration. Put a little salt in your water. That might take care of the cramping. Put an electrolyte tablet such as Noon in your water bottle, which is what I recommend to the youth swimmers that I coach who tend to cramp. And that takes care of the issue. some people cramp more than others, and that's just the nature of kind of who they are and their genetics. And at the same time, if you're cramping specifically in the water, chances are high that you may not be kicking properly, and you may be kicking from your knee down versus kicking from your knee up and using your quads and hip flexors to kick, as well as not have flexible ankles. So if you can be more mindful of what you're doing from a kicking perspective, and you have a loose toe point and you're actually pressing down with the top of your foot, I've seen, out of all so many swim analyses that I've done, I've seen a lot of improper kicks, and a lot of it is just due to athletes who enter the sport as an adult who have inflexible ankles. And so that's probably what's going on. And then when you put on fins, the fins are trying to put your foot in proper position to use the top of your foot and ankle and hip flexor with a slight knee bend. And you're resisting it because you're not used to that position. Usually when you wear fins, depending on how long they are, if they're short zoomer fins or just the regular long fin, it wants you to engage your quad and hip flexor. It tries to teach you the proper foot and leg position to kick, and maybe you could just be resisting that. So I also recommend, sending me a swim video for analysis just to be sure, as well as checking out so many videos we have on the Endurance Hour YouTube channel. One specifically is the anatomy of the kick, where I demonstrate and I just talk about specifically what's going on from the hip to the ankle, and that might help you.
And you can go to endurancehour.com to find a link to that free swim form analysis. It's basically going to be sending an email, and then we'll send you directions on how to do so. It's pretty simple, endurancehour.com. This question from Jen, who purchased our Couch to 70.3 program on Training Peaks. She says, "Hi, Wendy. I'm training for Muncie 70.3 in September. I have questions about running by heart rate and setting training zones for my lactate threshold test. Am I supposed to be running as hard as I can for those 30 minutes? A full sprint? What's the deal, Coach?"
Well, thank you for purchasing our Couch to 70.3 plan. I've done Muncie, Indiana back in the day when it was called Muncie Endurathon. And so I'm very familiar with the course. So definitely reach out to me if you have questions about that specific course. So to first answer your question, she's talking about ways to set her training zones as a way to measure the intensity that she plans to train at. The training zones that we have set in our training plans are all rate of perceived effort based, because rate of perceived effort is a universal way to manage and get to know your training intensity versus, heart rate, pace, power. So specifically to her heart rate question, we also suggest doing a assessment test. And that could be I like athletes to do a 5K run. Some people might not be up to that test protocol. So we do have various protocols that we suggest within the training plan. Again, it's an assessment. It's just kind of where you're starting the plan with. And it's something to look back on when you do it again to see how you've improved. And so specific to heart rate and a sprint, again, it's a 30-minute, 20-minute, or 3-mile or 1.5 mile protocol. That is not a sprint. When I think of a sprint, I'm thinking 10 to 20 seconds maximal effort. And so I want to make sure she's clear on definitions and meanings. No, you're not going to sprint that assessment test, but you will go as hard as you can based on your current level of fitness. You're not trying to go as hard as you want to be. You're just doing it to see where you're at. Right now, you may be a run walker, and so you're going to run and walk that assessment test, and you are going to get you're going to take your heart rate, and that's going to be your suggested lactate threshold heart rate, which is generally a heart rate that you can sustain for about 60 minutes, zone 4, rate of perceived effort of 8. So just some little bit more definitions on that. You might not even be wanting to do something that intense right now in the plan. So again, do it. Get an assessment, log actually how you executed and how you felt, and then use the zones, whether you continue to use RPE, heart rate, or pace, use them wisely and with understanding about what you're trying to get out of it.
At any time, since you're listening to this, if you want to get 33% off any of our plans on Training Peaks, simply go to endurancehour.com/33% and fill in your email, and we'll send you a code that you can apply to any one of our programs. You'll get 33% off of those programs on Training Peaks. This question from Scott, who's training for Augusta 70.3, regarding some terminology in the swim workouts. He wants to know what descend 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 on the 230s means, descending. What's that mean,
So
Coach?
again, another great question, especially if you just don't have any type of swimming background, that can be really confusing. So he was talking about, I followed up with him about a specific workout. It was 6 by 100s, descend 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 on the 230. So descend means 1 through 3 means number 1 is easy, number 2 is faster than number 1, number 3 is faster than number 2, and then you kind of start over. Easy, medium, hard is an easy way to think about it. You're trying to descend your time. You're trying to swim faster, more effort, whatever that means to you, given how your fitness is. So it's just a good way to try to vary your swim paces and not just kind of do a continuous swim, and just be more mindful of kind of where you're at. It's a kind of everything's always, I kind of think of every training session as another way to assess yourself. That's why I think that's important. Stress the importance of keeping a training log and note how you executed and where you're at. And then when it says on the 230, that means on the 230 send off. So if you swim your hundreds in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, you're going to get 10 seconds rest. If you swim your hundreds in 2 minutes and 29 seconds, you're going to get 1 second rest. You should probably adjust your send off and maybe just do a rest interval. So a rest interval would be take 10 seconds rest, 20 seconds rest between each 100. And you want to keep that consistent. And if you want to note exactly what you did so you can repeat maybe that similar workout and assess yourself and see how you do the next time around.
It sounds very similar to even a track workout when it comes to running. If you're doing, one loop around, which is 200, right? 200, you do it on the 230s, for example, and then hopefully you can descend or get faster on those paces throughout each track workout.
Right. And again, I've done videos on swim training terminology, and maybe it's not within his plan, but you could always go to the Endurance Hour YouTube channel. And if you have a question, type in some of the key words and you'll probably find an answer that we answered on video format.
Yeah, we've got well over 2,000 videos on that YouTube channel. This is from Mike, who has purchased one of our Couch to Sprint programs. He's training for a sprint distance in NorCal called Try for Fun, which are on June 11th, July 9th, and August 13th. That sounds fun. Your How to Swim Faster in 30 Days program looks like it might be a big help for this sprint triathlon. If you think it would be a good fit for this Couch to Sprint training, what kind of discount code can I get for that? And if so, I'll sign up for it.
So again, a great question from Mike. I followed up with him via email because I'd forgotten within all our Training Peaks training plans, I do offer everyone the ability to say, if you want to supplement your current plan with our cycling made faster videos or our swimming specific training plans, I will give you a discount code because you've already purchased a plan. And if you want to supplement something else, it's great. So again, just based on basic questions, I knew that the plan would be good for him to focus on the first part of his training with more swim focused, more time in the water 4 or 5 days a week is that program. It runs for 30 days. It does involve, again, that swim video for analysis. That's usually the best way I can give recommendations for people on how to progress with their swimming is to send me a video for analysis. And then, just a reminder that this is part of the plan. So he had found a discount code and he used it and he ended up getting it. So I'm really looking forward to following him because we've had a good kind of rapport on email. So it'll be fun to see how it works out for him.
This question from Doug, who writes into Wendy, I'm interested in your training plan for Ironman California. Do any of your programs use power for the bike workouts? And by the way, Doug, and those listening, we have individual specific race plans throughout the year of 2023 for specific Ironman events. You'll see it by going to Wendy's training plans list on Training Peaks. So it's not just Ironman California. We've got other ones that are on the list too that aren't just specific to that race, but to other races. So do your programs use power for bike workouts?
So all of our plans use any criteria you want to monitor your intensity, whether it's power, pace, heart rate, or rate of perceived effort. And so most of our plans are already based created based on RPE because that's just universal. Not everyone has a power meter or heart rate monitor or GPS device, but you can go in your Training Peaks setting and based on RPE, you can change that to power. So if a workout is RPE of 5, Training Peaks, if you adjust and toggle and change what's called the workout builder workout, that's why I build every plan using workout builder. If you change that to power, that's going to tell you 70 to 80% of your functional threshold power or heart rate or pace. So, you're not limited to following just rate of perceived effort. You can do anything you want.
Good question, Doug. Thanks very much. This question for Coach Wendy, because I started training back in November, I've only ridden indoors. How do I ride outdoors while riding with my power meter? Notably, my weekend bike rides are structured workouts and intervals. Logistically, I'm not confident about doing these well outside for lack of data, finding the appropriate terrain, but I don't want to lose my outdoor time, both for the enjoyment of it and the bike handling perspective. Your thoughts, Coach Wendy?
Ooh, there's a lot of that I can dissect here. So first of all, again, most of the plans when I create bike workouts, because so many people these days will ride indoors on a Zwift, Trainer Road type of app. And so to do a structured workout with certain cadence or intensity levels is so much easier to do inside because you don't have the terrain, the wind, the weather, the elements to impact trying to hold a certain zone heart rate or power. So let's say you're trying to hold a 150 to 160 watts for 10 minutes. It's a lot easier to do indoors than outdoors because of what I already stated. But at the same time, you don't want to get so held up by the exact structure and the idea of following a workout builder plan outside with a little bit more structured details rather than just going for a ride for the high fun value of it. You can, work out intention. So it's all about executing the workout as intended. So if you're like outside and you're trying to do that 10-minute interval at 155 watts and you get stopped by a stoplight at 8 minutes, it's not going to make or break the overall intention of the workout, what you're trying to accomplish and adapt and all that because you got stopped at 8 minutes. Maybe you want to just say, okay, I'm going to start my recovery now. Maybe I'm going to do the next interval. Maybe I'm going to do 12 minutes. Maybe I'm going to try to fit in that extra 2 minutes as soon as the light turns green, because safety ultimately is number one. Number two is sometimes if like look ahead, it's springtime. If you look ahead that you may want to flip-flop workouts and say, I'm going to ride outside tomorrow. This week, this training details of this bike is better for outside than this one. Switch days. That's always another option. And also, again, one benefit of training by rate of perceived effort is someone who trains with power inside and doesn't train with power outside. They might not have a power meter on their bike. You can take that workout inside and go outside and ride by effort. So again, you should know your 155 watts. You should know what kind of rate of perceived effort that is going to give you outside and just, kind of monitor that way or just changed from power indoors to heart rate outdoors. So there's a lot of ways to ride outside. It's just funny when someone's asking you how to ride my bike outside, but I totally get what you're going for. And again, talking about these high value workouts, especially when you're doing like your longer sessions and you're in your base training phase, you're building your foundation, getting outside is such more importance in my mind than always being stuck inside. Even if you don't follow the details of the workout, maybe you just follow it by time or distance and go have fun, because high fun value ultimately I think is the most important component of training, and that's what's kept me in the sport for 30 years.
Yeah, it's so unpredictable going outside. If you can map out in your mind where your route's going to be to match the workout, that can be helpful. And if it's not going to work out, just know that going into it and do the best you can. But there's a great value of being outside and feeling the gravity of the road and the wind and the elements and the bike handling skills as well. So I understand the question for both things here, the indoor benefit and the outdoor benefit. Hope that answered your question. Thanks very much.
I want to just add, one year when second year I lived in Georgia, I mean, I went from Colorado being able to just ride right outside my front door in a nice, safe bike lane to, oh my gosh, I don't know where I am. And so after about a year, I ended up riding my mountain bike outside my home. And a mountain bike, I sometimes rode on the road, sometimes I'd ride on the sidewalk, and I would just to get my outside time. I just thought that was really important. And then I would come indoors and crush out some intervals indoors in a safe environment just to make sure I got that specific intensity because I was training specifically for event. So a lot of this has to do with what time of year it is, how far away from the event are you, and how important those metrics are.
Let's finish off with this of what's going on inside the T2 Endurance Club on Facebook. Questions being posed. We've got over 700 members there. It's a closed group, so just answer a few questions if you are requesting to join. What's the latest theme coming up here as we break into April, Coach?
So a little bit of explanation about themes. I tried to, this year I started out my year saying I want to have a theme focused something in our group. In January, it was everyone got to do an iron distance race for a full month. In February, it was flexibility, mobility, a little bit of strength. March, because it's National Nutrition Month, and this is what actually kicked off our group in 2017, was in March, National Nutrition Month. So I was trying to, educate athletes, answer their questions about nutrition. And, I wasn't sure what I was going to do in April. And then I decided to do a streak. April, everyone do a streak, whether that's, for me, it's going to be like practicing gratitude every day, expressing gratitude every day because I'm not training. And I think that there's so many benefits of when you're really focused on gratitude. It keeps you positive and it helps you overcome some setbacks. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And other athletes might be doing, in the past, I've done a run streak where minimum, I was going to run a mile every day. So on those days that I was super busy or traveling, I knew I still had time to get my mile in. And that was a couple year long streak for me that year. And I have a client, Tim, who started that, and he's been doing it, I think, for like 3 or 4 years, his run streak, which is really cool because he started it because of me. And then, it could be a nutrition thing. I'm not going to eat sugar, or I say sugar because that's usually what people struggle with eliminating. It could be anything you want. Streaks are meant to be broken, so you don't want to become obsessive with them like I have in the past. And if you want to just say, you know what, I'm going to do a streak for 30 days. I'm going to do a streak for a week. I'm going to do a streak for as long as I can until I have to break it. It's your challenge. It's your streak. It's just the theme of the month.
That's great. I like that. Yeah. And the pressure, I think you eliminate that pressure on yourself to maintain that streak and just do the best you can. I was trying to do a cold plunge streak there for a while, but I knew I had something going on coming up on a weekend where it's going to break it. Like, that happens. I'm still following through. I'm still disciplined in the streak I'm going for. Just so life happens, it's okay. Do your best and just keep going.
Yeah, I think it just helps create more mindfulness in what you intend to do and how you execute certain things. And when you break them, it could create a certain emotion if you have to break a streak. But that means you're motivated. That means you're passionate. That you want to keep going, and you just start over. It's easy. It's no big deal.
It's all mindset, right?
It's all mindset.
And that's going to wrap up episode 391, as Wendy has to have a strong mindset over the next so many weeks and months dealing with surgery, recovery, and rehab, and then getting back on the road. So good luck to you, Wendy. We'll catch up next week and see how everything went, because the surgery is tomorrow. And fingers crossed. Of course, it's going to be fine. You're working with professionals.
Yep.
Until we see and talk to you again, thanks for watching. Have a great week of racing, training, or recovery. Adios.
Adios.